Good morning, Tempo Freaks and Raptor Freaks. Lexi Held here. It's Sunday morning, and the Tempo lost the game in Scotiabank Arena yesterday. It was a weird one because something very unexpected happened right before the game, and it changed everything. And that was Marina Mabrey was a late scratch. Such a late scratch that we literally found out that she wasn't playing when the jump ball happened. It's crazy. We all saw Kia Nurse in the lineup and we're like, whoa, wait a second. Where's Marina? What's going on with Marina? There had been pregame that had shown her shooting around. The broadcast team had been promoting her to be playing in the game and talking about her last game with the 53 and that, people were going to be excited to see her play again. And this is true. In some way, this was a travesty that Marina was not healthy to play in the first Scotiabank Arena game with all those people in there. In some ways, it was a ball that was dropped. I'm not totally sure why. She said there was a neck cramp or something like that. Oh, geez. You know, I want to say this. I feel like the problem that the NBA has had in years past with superstars just taking games off and just sitting out, maybe happening in the WNBA right now. Like, I know that in some ways, look, they got a less schedule. They don't play as often. They don't play as strenuous a schedule as the NBA. But I also feel like in some ways, the game yesterday was the kind of game where the NBA would be like, we're fining you for not playing your all star. Now, I think the rule there is that they can't miss. I don't know exactly. It's such a dumb rule in some ways, but it has been working as far as not letting people pay tickets to go to a game to see somebody, and then they're just not there for some dumb reason. I feel like this is what this was yesterday. In some ways, that's annoying. If I was Marina, yeah, maybe I'm a little tired because I just carried for 53 in the last game. Maybe I did wrench my neck real quick in the middle of the game, but you got to do something to try and fix it. And honestly, to me, that's not the kind of injury that keeps you out of the game. I know that there's probably players in the NBA that play with that same kind of thing as she did. In some ways, I looked over at the bench while the game, at the end of the game, near the end of the game, and you could tell Marina was like, "Oh fuck, I kind of fucked up not playing today," because I seen how my team was rudderless without a true leader to take over the game and carry us home to the victory. Because on paper, you're looking at the two teams coming in, and you're like, Marina's the star. They have Thomas and Mac out, and Marina's the number one star in this game. She's the one who's going to dominate this game and win this game for the tempo. Marina's not there. Then Kalia Copper becomes the biggest star on the court, and she acts like the biggest star, and she carries her team, and she wins the game for Phoenix. In the absence of Mabrey, people valiantly tried to step up and do different things to help. And some of them are my stars of the game. But overall, there was no singular leader that said, I'm going to take us home. I'm going to make sure that we have the lead in the fourth and we take this home. The Tempo were winning the whole game. They were winning going into the fourth. But in the fourth quarter, their offense stalled out, only scored 14 points, and the Phoenix Mercury won the game. That was not a game we should have lost for a couple reasons. Because we're in a battle in the WNBA for a playoff spot, which we could do and get, even though it's our first year and there's no expectations. Also, this is a team that's one of the worst teams in the league that we just played. And we dropped the ball and lost to them on our home court in front of a huge crowd at Scotiabank Arena that was anticipating a tempo win. It's just a bad lost opportunity. And I mean, I could directly point to Marina sitting out as the whole reason why we lost. I think that everybody would agree with that. It's too bad. It's just a missed opportunity. I feel like we've had two missed opportunities in the last two games, very different ones, very different missed opportunities. But that game where she got 53 against LA, there's missed opportunities there. And there's a missed opportunity yesterday at Scotiabank Arena. Well, they got to learn. It's a young franchise. There's going to be different stories that are going to be written for each game. Sandy Brondello put it very clearly in the post game conference, saying, there's going to be different games. You're going to win, and you're going to lose, and you're going to have different stories and different things happen for each game. That's just it. It sucks because honestly, the Tempo have three players that could have filled in the role that would have carried us home, but they are all out. And that would be Sykes, Mabrey, and Rice. Even if we had just had Rice and not Mabrey and Sykes, Kiki Rice could have carried us home at the end of the game. It's just that the other players, and we really only played 7 players yesterday. None of them are, I don't know what it is, dominant enough to just say, I'm taking over the game, or I can get us baskets consistently and dependably so that we can land this plane and win this game at the end of in the fourth quarter. There's valiant efforts. There's a couple of them, they're close. There may be a few of them that learned something and said, man, if I had done just this a little bit better, I would have helped us and we would have won. There's a couple of them there. Unfortunately, a lot of our players that were available yesterday were European players that are still adjusting to the WNBA game. And some of them are just not ready to explode and bust out for 20 to 30 points and carry the team in the absence, because it was next woman up yesterday. Oh, yeah. Once Marina was out, next woman up. You've got to find the person who's going to fill her shoes, which is impossible in some ways. But it's also some sort of level of filling her shoes. I like the fact that we had 6 Tempo players in double digits last night, but nobody got to 20. That's part of it there. It's like, yeah, okay, we got more people scoring as a variety of people, but somebody's got to be top dog, and they got to go out there and get 20 plus to match the 20 plus that Kalia Copper is going to go put in. I mean, there's a couple of different ways you can look at why we lost. I think we lost mainly because Marina didn't play, and we all expected her to play. I had said yesterday in the preview, do you hold Hulk Hogan out of the match after everybody wants to come see Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania? No. WrestleMania, you better put Hulk Hogan in the game or in the match, because that's why people pay tickets to come to the game. And I can make that argument yesterday that sadly, some people came to there with the intention to see Marina Mabrey play, and she didn't play, and they didn't get that. And that's kind of like, it's kind of like going to a WWF match in the 80s, and you find out Hulk Hogan is not appearing on the card after they advertised it for like 4 weeks in the newspaper. Hulk Hogan, Maple Leaf Gardens on March the 24th. Be there. And you go, it's March the 24th. Hulk Hogan's not there. And they're subbing in Hillbilly Jim. Like, what is that? We want to see Hulk Hogan. We want to see Marina Mabrey. It sucks. It's just bad timing. In some ways, you know what I thought it was? I didn't think she was hurt. I thought she had an anxiety attack. I think that, because you could think of this in this way, right? That like she had such a monster game and it was so incredible that maybe there's all this pressure on her to kind of match it again. And not only that, they're going to an arena they haven't played in yet, which she had gone to in the playoffs for the Raptors and seen how it rocks. Seeing the largesse of it, the amount of people you could fit in there and how loud it can get, and just how big and bad the Scotiabank Arena is when it's really going. She saw that because she went and sat at courtside with Sam McDaddy during the playoffs against Cleveland Cavaliers. And maybe she was in there and I was like, oh, this is pressure. I don't know. They said she just wrenched her neck and then that was it. I don't know. See, this is the kind of stuff that makes me think, that's kind of a shitty, I shouldn't say it because we don't know. We don't know how hurt she was or what was wrong or whatever. She's sitting on the bench, though, looking like her world's crashing down when she notices that her missing the game is, the team's going to lose and take an L. This is one of those ones where you want it back. This is one of those ones that throughout the whole season, just like with the Raptors, a game against Brooklyn that was a back to back flying from Toronto to Brooklyn, and we were tired and we lost the Nets in a stupid game. This is one of those games. This is one of those ones you want back. This is one of those ones that you want to redo. This is one of those ones where you want to get it right. Yeah, it's too bad. It's too bad. It is what it is. We can't change it. Life goes on. Move on to the next game. We'll be playing in July now because we got the next 3 days off. One of the things that Sandy talked about after the game was getting rest for the players around this time. That like there's a bit of a stretch where there's no games and people can really get some rest. And hopefully Slim and Kiki are getting closer to coming back, although there's different mixed news about both of them. You know, sometimes we hear Kiki's and participating in practice. You know, Slim has not been around the team at all. I get it. She's on, well, let me go look at the Tempo Redditor of the day. It's Kerfuffles. And they've got a picture of Slim with a scooter. It's very much like the scooter that Brandon Ingram had after his surgery after the season. Slim still using a scooter. She posted this a few minutes ago last night. Kerfuffles 80, Toronto Tempo Redditor of the day. So maybe that's why she's not coming to the games because she don't want to be riding around in a scooter in front of everybody. I don't know. To me, that annoys me because she seems disconnected from the team right now. You know, they're celebrating a 53-point game for Marina in the locker room. And, you know, Slim's not around at all. Like she's at home and stuff. I don't necessarily like that. I mean, I get it. Some injuries is better for people to just stay off their feet and just stay home. Kiki Rice didn't come to the first game or so after her ankle injury, but she's been showing up and supporting her team since. It's just bad. It looks bad to me that, you know, Brittany gets hurt and she just disappears and she's not around the bench or anything like that. I know she's still involved. I know she's probably very connected. You know, in some ways, her reaction to Marina's 53 was muted a little bit and a little weird. I mean, she did post something about it. I don't know. I don't want to look through it and see, okay, maybe there's some sort of weird underlying thing that's not exactly right there. But there probably is. And I don't know. I don't know. I can't say. So yeah, Kerfuffles, thank you for showing us at least the reason why Sykes might not be at the game is because she's still riding around on a scooter for her leg. So I don't know. She didn't have surgery or anything, right? So I don't totally understand this, why she's using the scooter. I don't totally understand this. So yeah, all right, let's go ahead and see. Yeah, Mr. Greg is here. Good morning, Mr. Greg. Initially, they were speculating a possible ACL injury. Yeah, it's definitely not her knee. It's definitely her foot. It's definitely her foot. Even in the picture here that Kerfuffles posted, the thing that's on her leg is around her ankle and on her foot, and it's her left foot. And there's nothing up anywhere near the knee or anything. To me, that's weird because I mean, I guess that's the same as Brandon. Brandon had an ankle injury, ankle surgery. So they put him in that little scooter after the playoffs, and he's riding around in New York with Glorilla with that little scooter on his leg. Either way, get healthy fast. We need you, Brittany. We need you, Kiki. And Marina, boy, did we need you yesterday. That's for sure. All right, let me go ahead and do my stars of the game, and we'll go over the box score. My number one star of the game is Julie Alamont. Julie Alamont was, to me, the most important person on the court for the Tempo. She got another double-double yesterday, 11 points with 10 rebounds. She even had 10 assists with 7 rebounds. See, she could have been Kyle Lowry triple-double hunter. Get 3 more rebounds, Julie Alamont. You got the first triple-double in the Tempo's history. That's what I'm saying. Nobody's strive to achieve. No, that's an individual accolade. And nobody should try and do that unnaturally because it's selfish and it sets the wrong tone for team unity. I know, but let's build history. Let's build culture. This is the kind of game where she could go do that. She just has to go in there and battle for rebounds just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. But yeah, Julie, very professional, very competitive. At one point, we saw her yelling at the ref, Kelly Broomfield, coming up the court, really passionate, yelling in the point where you could hear her. And this isn't Coca-Cola. This is Scotiabank, where, that kind of ability to hear the volume of her voice, yelling at the ref, going up the court, that's actually pretty impressive. Seriously, that's pretty impressive. And she's so no nonsense in the interviews after the games. It's funny because that accent from that part of Europe, that French accent, it always reminds me of Andre the Giant, right? But like she's talking and she's very no nonsense. She's very like, we could have won this game, we could have done this, we could have done that. And she's also like, they asked about playing in Scotiabank, the difference. And she's like, yeah, it's very nice to play in a big arena like this, but we needed to win. And that's too bad. But it was very nice to see the crowd and feel that energy. It's just tough, man. But yeah, I like Julie's game yesterday. 39 minutes, 11 points, 4 of 6. She could have scored more, hope maybe, possibly. 3 of 5 from 3. I love that her threes have been going down the last couple games, and she's looking for them. 7 rebounds, 10 assists, 2 turnovers, and 1 block, and a -8. Yeah, to me, the double-double, the leadership, the two-way play, as Sandy puts it, as far as like her dogged defense, along with her playmaking, and then secondary her shooting, which is not as much as I think it should be. My second star of the game is the young French woman, Tima Pouilly. I felt like she was a spark plug. She was somebody that was kind of blossoming slightly at a certain point after her first stint on the court, where she got a few baskets and came back and sat down. She's sitting next to Marina, and Marina was whispering in her ear, saying something, and they started laughing and giggling together. And I bet you something what Mabrey said to Pouilly was like, you could go and be me today and go out there and just go crazy and score a bunch. And Tim is like, yeah, I can. I'm going to do it a little bit, maybe. It was cool. But it was nice to see Tima get more shots and find success. And this kind of stuff is important for a young WNBA player who just showed up. It builds confidence. And she's been very good on defense. She's been hustling. She's been right up on people. In fact, her and Julie as a backcourt yesterday was pretty cool. Like, I enjoyed watching Julie and Tima, kind of like it would be like Quick Shed for the Raptors. A Quick Shed lineup, 2 point guards out there. But, in some ways, the synergy between Pouilly and Alamond as the backcourt is very, point guard first, but there's combo guard stuff that both of them that can do and get away with because the other one's there. So yeah, I like the synergy between the two of them on the court. I liked how hard Tima was working. And well, she got the most points she's ever gotten in a WNBA game. 20 minutes, 13 points on 5 of 10 shooting. Pretty good. 50%. 3 of 7 from 3. Nice to see those threes go in. Nice to see her, chip in her part on that. 2 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 turnover, 1 steal, a +6. She's one of the only two tempo players to be in the plus minus. Yeah, I'm very proud of her. She needs to build off this game. And that's exactly what happens when somebody like Mabrey or Sykes or Rice, when all of them are out, that's opportunity, ladies. Don't waste it. Go show something new and watch your role on the team expand. Watch your trust with Coach Sandy Brondello grow. That's what this is. Next woman up. That's when, oh crap, Marina's out. She messed her neck up while she's like looking around the arena, looking at all the people. Ow, 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 my neck. And now she got to go out in the back and she can't play. That's the opportunity. That's when the brass ring appears on the side of the carousel and y'all need to lean out and try and grab it because it's there. It's there to take. Somebody's got to do this. Tina Turner saying we need another hero today. Not we don't need another hero. We need a hero today. Thunderdome, Terror Dome, or whatever. Mad Max Thunderdome. Yeah, we need another hero. We need somebody to replace Marina. All we want is some more threes from the tempo. It's like that. We all the children say we need another hero. That's right. Who's gonna step up and get 20? It was like that. But Tima showed signs of it. Showed signs of it. Baby steps to being the person. Baby steps. Like there is a possibility that she could carry and do this. But in some ways, she wasn't in the game at the key moments at the end of the game in the right places too to do that. To do that. My third star of the game, and I'm biased. I'm just gonna say it, is Kia Nurse. And really, part of the reason why is because Kia Nurse, well, first of all, she took a spot start. She didn't expect she was going to start yesterday. She came and started right at the very last second and showing her professionalism. She jumped in the starting lineup. Some people were shocked by that. Some people were showing their ass and talking trash about our great Canadian Kia Nurse, the second most WNBA points by a Canadian in the history of the WNBA. Have some respect, people. She's an older player. She's been playing a long time. There's a lot of experience. There's a lot of knowledge. There's a lot of things that are good about Kia Nurse. And in some ways, people are not respecting her correctly. And I like that she got out there and she got the first basket ever scored by a Toronto Tempo player in Scotiabank Arena. She was the first Tempo player to ever score a basket in the preseason at the very beginning in Coca-Cola Coliseum. So in some ways, that trend continues with Kia hitting a three to start the game for the Tempo. So I like that she jumped in there and she had to play a lot of minutes, and that totally wasn't anticipated because Marina was supposed to be playing. So yeah, Kia Nurse as a starter, 22 minutes, 12 points on 4 of 9 shooting, 3 of 5 from 3, 1 of 2 at the free throw line, 1 rebound, 1 assist, 0 turnovers, a minus 18. It's really just kind of symbolic. Why do people hate Canadian heritage moments? Why can't we have a celebration for our Canadian players? Canada's coming up in the world as far as basketball power. We really are. Trust me, we're coming. And, Kia Nurse is one of our very, very respected, longtime Canadian players for our women's team, and also a longtime WNBA player who's played in this league for many years. And honestly, I'm sick of, casuals or young fans just not respecting it just because, well, she doesn't play this way, or she's like this, or she could be better this, or moan and groan. Why do we even have to play her? You'll never get it. You'll never get it. If it's all lost on you, you'll never get it. And some of it is Canadian pride. Some of it is for culture. Some of it is for a Canadian heritage moment. So let it happen. That's right. I'll go over the rest of the team, the others double-digit scores. And honorable mention to Isabel Harrison, 27 minutes for Izzy. Pretty much the only American player playing for the Tempo yesterday. It's like all the Americans are hurt, and then Izzy's like the American representative, and then we got representatives from all other countries around the world otherwise. Yeah, Harrison, 12 points on 5 of 11 shooting. Missed her only 3, made both her free throws, 7 rebounds, 3 turnovers, and a block, a minus 6. Izzy at times was showing a little bit like she wanted to be the dominant player to take over and be the star as the counterpunch to Kalia Copper. At times she showed it, but it wasn't consistent. There was some very impressive moves that she did and finished. I wanted to see more of it. I felt like we could have made her the focal point of our offense with Mabrey out and try and go through Isabel Harrison more. There's some plays out there where her and Temi were like basically beating the Mercury just because they wanted it more. And that's something that I love about Harrison. She's a competitor. She competes. And if she's down low and the ball is loose, she's fighting for that rebound. And she's going to get it quicker because she wants it more than the other team. And I like that. I like that a lot. There's so much I like about Harrison. I just wish that in this case, with the scenery of who was missing, that she was more successful and they had doted on her more so that she could have been the 20-point scorer for us last night. Alas, she only got 12. and we needed more. Only 80 points for our high scoring team that just broke the record for most points in a WNBA regulation game, 125. We dropped down 45 points to 80 for this game. There's some production missing. Well, 53 points by Marina, Lex. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's like when we have that opening in the lineup void for people to fill in the production, that's y'all got to jump on it. That is the time to make your career grow and you to get more trust and you to get more responsibility. You got to jump on that, ladies. Come on now. Maria Conde is one of the people I was hoping may have jumped on it. There were signs that she was the person they were trying to get going in a bigger way because she took the most shots out of anybody yesterday, that she was kind of the person that was, the offensive number one. 17 minute or 37 minutes for Maria, 10 points only. See, that's the thing. It's like Marina did 53 points in 32 minutes or something on the last game. You had 37 minutes. You only scored 10 points, Maria Conde. I mean, it's not your fault. You just came to the WNBA this year and you're still learning the ropes. You're still figuring it out. But no, man, if you could have blossomed and found a little bit more of a offensive explosion yesterday, you could have been that hero Tina Turner was singing about. That's right. You could have been the one in there ripping Master off a blaster and cranking his head into the side of the cage with a big, huge mace. You could have been that, Maria. That's right. They would have been singing about you. That's right. 10 points on 4 of 14 shooting. The shots were there. It's just she's not efficient. 1 of 8 from 3. Yeah. She's found her shot like a bit, but not totally. Not totally. 1 for 1 at the free throw line. I like that. 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 turnovers, 3 steals. I like that. And a -6. Missed opportunity there. Missed opportunity there. She didn't really rise to the occasion, is what I'm going to say. Niara Sabally valiantly trying to get her game back on track since coming back from the last injury she had. She's still not totally there. In some ways, the smoothness of her footwork and the way she was playing defense and the stuff she was doing at the beginning of the year, some of it's showing up again, slowly but surely, but it's not exactly there where it was in the very beginning of the season right now. But she's getting closer. 26 minutes for Sabally. 14 points on 5 of 10 shooting, 50%. That's pretty good. 2 of 3 from 3. I like those threes she took. 2 of 5 at the free throw line. Now, this is where she didn't get a star because she had very important free throws late in the game where the game was at hand and she flubbed them badly. Oh my gosh. I hate not giving stars to people because they help us lose the game because they missed their free throws. 2 of 5 at the free throw line. So she missed 3 free throws. And they were just very key and just kind of, and one of the ones she missed, she just really got mad at herself. She's like, afterwards. It was annoying. 4 rebounds altogether for Niara. 1 assist, 2 turnovers, no blocks, a -18. Yeah, this is another case where you got 14 points, Niara, but if you had gotten 20 plus, you would have been that Tina Turner hero. That's right. That's right. What's love got to do with it? That's right. Yuskata, this is really weird. In this game, I don't totally understand this. And in some ways, maybe some of the tempo players are in the doghouse on the down low. Because this is weird. This is a game with all the people out and how much we've utilized and used Laura. Her only playing 11 minutes yesterday kind of bugs me, man. Like, seriously, like, what's up with that, Sandy? Like, I think that some of the problems with why we lost the Mercury yesterday are a coach's fault because coach didn't make the right substitution patterns or the right people to get in there. Why did Tiani Key get a DNP? Like, seriously, you're already playing with 9 players with Marina as a scratch at the end, and then you decide you're going to not play your rookie from Kentucky at all. That's why I think, man, maybe she's in a doghouse. Maybe she did something stupid behind the scenes, and Coach Sandy is punishing her for some reason. I'm like, there's no reason other than that for why Tiani Key couldn't get in the game. Now, the last couple of games where she's got in the game, she's kind of shat the bed and not been very good. but still, you could tell Key was a little emotional sitting on the bench and just getting overlooked. This may be an ego killing exercise. This may be something where Coach Sandy's doing a lesson for a young player about being a professional in the WNBA, and Tiana Key has a tough lesson to learn right now. I don't know. It didn't make any sense to me because we played, like I said, and with Yuskata only playing 11 minutes, that's right. We heavily doted on just 7 players. And one of them wasn't the person we started most of this year, who's been a very good Swiss Army knife of all kinds of skills to help the tempo have winning things happen. I don't get it. In some ways, I will blame Sandy a bit for why we lost yesterday because she didn't manage her team correctly to get the right results throughout the game. And I think not playing Yuskata, there's something weird about that. Maybe she's a little hurt on the down low and she's trying to save her time. I don't know. We don't know all the insider information on why Keys DMP and why Laura barely played. It's just weird to me. It's fishy because Iskata was getting huge starters minutes and playing a lot of time, and she's actually been evolving and becoming a very, very solid WNBA player since her rookie year, the beginning of this. Yeah, it's crazy. 11 minutes, and she didn't score. She took one shot, and she sat on the bench and smiled and watched the game, a lot of the game. 4 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 turnovers, a +6. So in the time she was out there, we outscored the other team by 6 points. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it. Temi is another person as a vet that maybe she should have stepped up. She had her career high recently for the tempo, and I know that would say a lot for what she got in that game. I believe it was like 19 or something. I don't know. But yeah, we could have used her stepping up a little bit more. 19 minutes for Fagbenle, 8 points on 4 of 6 shooting. Missed the only 3 she took. She did miss 2 free throws also. And that adds to the thing with Niara. 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 0 turnovers, and a -1. Yeah, those vets in Harrison, Fagbenle, and Sabali, they could have stepped up and carried this team themselves. Julie Lamont, I don't know. We just needed a hero, and no hero showed up. The other side had a hero, that's for sure, and that was Kalia Copper. Kalia Copper with 27 points yesterday on 10 of 15 shooting with 5 rebounds. She was playing like the star on the court. She was active. She was streaking around, doing the streaky stuff that we were talking about, where she shot very well, 10 of 15, and she was the leader. She was very much the leader. She's like, all right, I'm going to be top dog on this game tonight, and I'm going to lead my team to win because there's nobody on the other side that's going to be as top dog as I am that will match me and defeat us. So she carried her team. And this is a huge win for the Phoenix Mercury because, they were missing Thomas because of the suspension. And the coach and the players, Lexi Held and Kalia Copper, very much standing up for Alyssa Thomas after the game in the press conference, saying they don't think that the suspension was done correctly or fair. And they're mad about it. And, well, what's the best revenge? Get a game win, even when you're supposed to be punished. You're being punished. You don't get Thomas today. Well, I guess that something was looking out for them with the basketball gods because Marina Mabrey couldn't play all of a sudden. And the opening to win this game against the tempo and say, yeah, screw you, WNBA. You suspended our star. And, well, we're going to go win the game anyway. Oh, I hate that. This was kind of on the down low, a Lexi Held revenge game. Seriously, think about it. I don't think anything with Lexi was like that bad. I think that she doesn't really have ill will towards us. There's definitely been players that have come through Toronto on the Raptors. They get pissed off when they get cut and they come back around and boomerang into us with a vengeance. In some ways, Lexi Held did do this yesterday. It's kind of confusing. In some ways, who would you be mad at, Lexi? Would you be mad at Phoenix Mercury for not protecting you in the expansion draft and letting you get taken? Or maybe it was a calculated risk. Maybe it was the thing where you got selected, you got the shine, and you can always say, I was an original tempo. I was there in the beginning. I played in the preseason, and I played a few games at the beginning of their first season ever. I played in their first game ever, y'all. I can say that. Yeah, at some point they decided you weren't the right fit for our team and what we're trying to do, and well, we cut you, and then you found your home back in Phoenix. I don't think she's mad at us for cutting her because she seems much more happier in Phoenix. But there was definitely like a competitive edge to the DePaul product where she's like, yeah, y'all didn't want me, and I'm going to show y'all. And Lexi got the start, and well, she dropped 16 on us. And this is the crazy thing: Lexi Held scored more points in the game yesterday than any of our players yesterday. Lexi, 30 minutes, 16 points on 5 of 11 shooting, including 3 of 6 from three. Yeah. Lexi Held was the second leading scorer in the whole, or the third leading scorer, actually, because Valeria got 20 for them too. So she outscored every single one of the tempo players on the other side. Nobody scored over 16 for the tempo. Yeah, there's a little bit of redemption in that. She should be smiling. She should be able to get that post game interview and feel good. She's a professional about it. She didn't gloat about it. She didn't have any anger about it. It may have been the nicest revenge game I've ever seen in my life, where she's smiling. Oh, I'm just here. I'm great. And I'm going to beat your butt, but I'm going to smile and I'm not going to look like a jerk about it. In fact, you might find it adorable how I revenge game you. It's really kind of like that. And there's probably people that came to the game yesterday that are Tempo fans. They're like, oh, I always liked Lexi. I can't be mad at this. I'm so happy for her. I'm so happy for Lexi Held. Yeah, this is annoying. This is annoying right here because in some ways, this is a case where I could say the GM looks bad. The GM looks bad because, like, look, we had all these people out, and this is the person you cut, and she just outscored all of the people you kept. The GM looks bad in this one. I mean, some people are like, we should have held on to held. We'll never know. And in some ways, the decision's been made. We're going with Tima, and that's it. That's just how it is. I mean, you can see the difference between Pouye and Held and what they offer. And in some ways, I don't disagree with that move, but also at the same time, we didn't foresee Marina Mabrey opting out to play at the beginning of the game. And then all of a sudden, you know what? Starting Lexi Held in the starting lineup for the tempo and her absence with the depth of that may have been nice at this point, Monica Wright Rogers. Just saying. I'm just saying. Yeah, it's a very sad, pathetic loss. I don't like it at all. And I feel bad for the people that went to Scotiabank Arena and expected a Marina Mabrey show. I feel bad for them. It's just not a good look. Let's just put it that way. Team stats. Going over the team stats for both teams. There's some egregious stuff here, and the refs were bad. The refs were bad yesterday. Yeah, at times they were okay, but most of the game, Randy Richardson, Kelly Broomfield, and Agana Bazi were bad. They were bad. I pay real close attention to them. Randy Richardson is sweating like he knows he's bad. Like he comes up to the challenge mic and he's like, oh, Toronto is challenging the call. Oh, I'm so sweaty. Oh, it's just in my eyes. It's like, what's going on, Randy? Are you in some kind of problems? Blink 3 times that the mafia is involved. Come on, man. Why are you sweating so hard, bro? You're supposed to be in shape. Is it really humid in the Scotiabank Arena in Canada? Like, what's going on here, bro? Why are you sweating so bad? You got to get it back in shape. This is, obviously, man, you look like you're in shape, but why are you sweating so bad? Seriously, it's crazy how you was sweating. It's crazy. But yeah, the big gripe I have with them is the free throws, as usual. We don't get no free throws. Marina Mabrey, Brittany Sykes are out, and there's no respect for any of the other players. And they got more than twice the amount of free throw attempts that we got. We lost by 9. And they got 17 more free throw attempts than us. That's how you can win a game over us easy. The refs don't give us any calls, and they weren't. There were a lot of plays where they didn't get called shit, and we were getting fouled. A lot of that. The evening up of the free throw shots could have made this a much more, we should have won for sure. But yeah, 21 and 29 for the Mercury, shooting 72%, and we shot 50% from the free throw line yesterday, 6 of 12. We missed 6 points at the free throw line. And that's 6 of the 9 that we lost by. But then we didn't get any free throw opportunities because they weren't giving us on the line. In fact, they were doing that shady shit where They call non-shooting fouls, and we'd get foul calls, but we wouldn't get foul shots. I can look at the total fouls at the bottom, and it's a lot closer. It's actually crazy. We got more fouls called on us, sure. 24 fouls on us, 16 fouls on them. But, our fouls, I guess, just added up to more free throws for them and not free throws for us from their fouls. Yeah, it's shady. They'll do that. Non-shooting foul, side out. Nope, not right now. You don't get free throws. Nope, side out. They were getting some bad calls where we had to do a challenge and call them on it. That out of bounds with Euskata, she didn't hit it out, and she knew it. And it would have been a travesty if nobody paid attention to Laura and they looked at it and changed the call. But they did, and they looked at it, and it was off copper. It was definitely off copper. Yeah. So let's see. The shooting, we shot 46%. We shot better than them. We lost. 3-pointers, we made 2 more 3-pointers than them. We lost. We had 12 3-pointers. They had 10. The free throws was a big area where they won. The rebounds, we out-rebounded them 35-32 yesterday, and we lost. Assists, 26 assists for the tempo. They had 16. We lost. We beat them in almost every category, but we still managed to fumble this game. I have no idea how this happened. Not enough free throws and no superstar to step up and close the game for us. Yeah, it's bad. Assist to turnover ratio 26-12. So we got a 2-to-1 ratio. I love that. That's good. We took care of the ball pretty good. They were 16-9, which is not 2-to-1. Fast break points, they won that 17-10. And they also won the points in the paint 38-34. It's stupid. We were winning the whole game. We were winning most of the game. We were the one who was on top. It was very close. It was going back and forth. I was like, man, this is going to be a dramatic finish. I can tell because these teams are so close to each other. But it really wasn't. Basically, what happened was the Mercury turned up the defense, and we went cold, and we couldn't score in the fourth quarter. And they outscored us plus 10 in the fourth quarter, 24-14. That's the worst time to go stagnant, is in the fourth quarter in a game where you're going tete-to-tete back and forth with the other team, and you're scoring back and forth, and then all of a sudden you have no offense in the fourth quarter, and the other team is doing a better job holding you down, and they just take the lead and win. That's veteran know-how on how to close the game and win, Copper and the Mercury. And meanwhile, we don't necessarily have the right kind of vets in the game that are those kind of vets that are going to take over and win the game for us that Sykes and Mabrey would be. And even Rice to a degree. And she's a rookie. If Kiki Rice had been playing in this game, just her, if she had been available yesterday, we could have probably won because she's got that competitiveness and she's got the ability to score at different levels. And she would have figured it out because she's a smart player, how to get the scores for us in the fourth quarter to stay afloat and stay just ahead of Phoenix and win this game, much to the delight of the crowd at Scotiabank Arena yesterday. Yeah. Attendance officially is 15,687. So they were shy, 3,000 people shy of a sellout. But still, that's a good number. That's a good number. And that's their highest attendance for the year so far, obviously, for home with that game. Yeah. So, that's my reaction to the box score right there. You guys tell me what you think. It looks like Greg's filling it up for me. I like this. Yeah. Greg's saying, I think the speculation came from 2 previous ACL surgeries because of her past history with surgeries, Brittany Sykes. It was also, Greg, I think initially the way that she fell and the way she was holding herself in the game when the injury happened, it looked more like it was around the knee area, just from the position of how she was on the ground and holding herself. And I think that's where we started to think, oh, maybe it's ACL at the time, but it's definitely not ACL. I found out something very interesting yesterday. Fred Van Vliet released a new Unguarded podcast, and his guest is Patrick Beverly. And Fred talked about tearing his ACL last summer in the offseason, and he said that he didn't just tear his ACL, he tore his meniscus also. He ripped everything in his knee, shredded it. I really worry for Freddie and his ability to come back from this injury next year. He said he's going to come back stronger and better than ever. But, man, he's crazy. He also told the story about when it happened in practice. He's so tough. He ripped his whole entire knee apart, and he kept running around like he was in denial. He said that when I first got hurt, I didn't want to believe it. Like when the doctor called me back and said the MRI shows that it's all torn, I wanted to blame the young MRI tech that when I went in there, he was kind of goofy and he didn't seem like he knew what he's doing. That was the first thing I wanted to do in my mind. It's like the 7 stages of grief. Denial is number one, right? And Fred was denying it. I can't have this problem. No, he's so crazy. He's denying his injury so much. Even after he was diagnosed with the ACL tear, he was still trying to train and work out and run around and do stuff on a torn ACL. Fred's crazy, man. He is so wild. Yeah, that podcast is really interesting. Pat Bev asked him some interesting questions back at him, some of it pertaining to his exit with the Raptors. And Fred was very candid about how he felt about the Raptors shifting their focus from building a team around OG Pascal and him to going to Scotty. That he had designs on his career and what he was going to do next. And the Raptors were shifting gears behind the scenes, and they weren't totally forthright with him as far as like, yeah, he thought this was what was going to happen. And the Raptors were already switching to the Scotty era. He's a little hurt by that. He was honest about it. I don't think he said anything that's negative towards Toronto in general. He's just being real about his feelings as a human being and the situation and how he looked at it. He said that he started to realize that the Raptors were moving in another direction after his All-Star year, where he was building, and he's like, the next year he came in and they told him, yeah, you're going to be off ball again. You're not going to have the ball in your hands like you did last year. And we want you to be more of a point guard again. And he was like, whoa, wait a second. And then it started to key into him as like, okay, they may be shifting gears and going to start building around Scotty Barnes as the franchise player. But it's interesting to hear his takes on that and talking about it and going over that kind of stuff. Yeah, Pat Beverly is a weird guy. I didn't realize that Fred and him were so close, but they're close because they're both from Illinois. And they kind of have the same circles of the region from where they're from. And Fred respects Pat for his competitiveness, the way he is. And even though a lot of people don't, but Fred likes him a lot. And this is another thing that I don't get. Pat Bev said that crap about the Raptors. Maybe when he said that we had only puppy dogs, that was because Fred had left and Fred was his friend. And he saw Fred as the dog on the Raptors. And Patrick Beverly calling us out saying there's no dogs on that team. They're puppies. That was after we got RJ and Emmanuel, I remember. That may have been an insult at the Raptors and partly a shot in the honor of Fred VanVleet is what I'm thinking now at this point. It's very interesting stuff. Mr. Greg saying, give her 8 more minutes, and she likely does it. Give her 8 more minutes. Greg, I will ask you, I know I cover a lot and I don't directly stop and answer each question. Put those proper nouns in there and I'll know exactly what you're talking about. You give her 8 more minutes, she likely does it. I'm not sure who you're talking about. Mr. Greg saying, if we made our free throws, we had a better chance. Yes, that's why I couldn't. And I thought that Sabali was really fighting in there. There was a lot of stuff that she did well. And I really did strongly consider her as one of the stars of the game. But I penalized her for the missed free throws. I penalized her for that. And I said, I can't do that. I can't do that. Yeah. Mr. Greg saying, just as when Kiki and Julie are on the court together, Tima and Julie looked good as well as when paired together. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of fun. Like, double point guard lineups have a history in Toronto as far as like Fred and Kyle. And, some of the stuff we've done with Quickly and Shed in the last year or so. And there's shades of this, like Rice and Alamong, fantastic pairing when Rice is there. And we saw Pouillet and Alamong. It works too. It works too. I mean, in some ways, those two women, they could be shouting out to each other in French. And maybe not everybody's understanding what they're saying out there, Tima and Julie. Yeah. Oh, man. It's just, it's fun to see synergy. It's fun to see flow. And I felt like, and that was the reason why the two of them were sitting next to Brondello after the game was over in the interview. They put the two, the Belgian and the French woman there. So yeah, there was a cool little chemistry. It's chemistry. That's right. We invented the game here in Canada. That's right. That's right. Mr. Greg saying Niara and Temi were brutal from the line. Yeah, yeah, and that's they're vets. They've been around a bit, and it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be like that. Although I want to give Temi major props for her little shots over her head. That was a cool thing she did. That one point when she was at the front of the rim and she just kind of flipped the ball over her head like this, and it was somewhat blind to whether the shot would go in. That was pretty cool. She had a couple little flip over her head shots in the game at different points, and those were fun. Those were fun. This was definitely a game where if we could have gotten more out of Temi, that would have been helpful. Any of them, honestly, we just need a little bit more for any of them. Any of them. I mean, Timma, I'm giving props to Timma, but she could have gone even more above and beyond and really been the hero and really made a splash and get notice around the WNBA by being like, whoa, this rookie from France who they just picked up a couple weeks ago just tore it up and won the game for the Tempo. That's what I wanted to see. We needed a hero. We needed somebody to step up and do this. Yeah, it's just how it is. Fiercey's here. Good morning, fam, and happy Sunday. Yesterday was winnable, but it was a good to see how players stepped up in Marina's absence. It was good, but disappointing. I'll say that. They didn't really step up. They kind of had the regular production, and that's why I'm kind of annoyed. Timma stepped up. Timma did more than she's ever done. She got her best ever game in WNBA in a rookie year. That's why it was hard for me to say, well, Kia, she stepped up in the absence of Marina because she got double digits and she manufactured points and she's out there busting her ass. But the rest of them, I will honestly say, they didn't really step up. They didn't really step up, Fiercey. Julie was pretty much the standard and she didn't drop off what she's been doing. But the rest of them stood where they kind of have been doing it with Marina in the lineup still. And somebody had to make up for the huge chunk of what Marina Mabrey is for our team, especially on offense. There were other stuff where we missed Marina. It wasn't just on the offensive end. She's such a defensive wizard in certain ways as a whirling person around out there, just going after and getting after it and hustling and going all over the place. And some of that energy was missing. In some ways, you could liken it to Scotty on the Raptors. We play a certain kind of defense with Scotty out there setting the tone and getting after it and playing so hard on defense. We lacked that intensity on defense yesterday, partly because Mabrey's a defensive leader also, who really gets after it and really plays the passing lanes and gets steals and also gets deflections and is just a shit disturber. She's a shit disturber, just like Alan Graves and Colin Murray-Boyles is going to be this year coming up. And well, we missed that aspect. In fact, that aspect is part of what cultivates our transition game and gets us fast breaks. So there wasn't as much steals or just pressure on the ball in some ways. And the Mercury were allowed to operate too freely and too easily. So that's an aspect that we missed in Mabrey that most people want to look at and even talk about the defensive aspect of what she does. Good morning, MJ. So good to see you. That's right. Let's see. Mr. Greg saying under normal circumstances, Lexi only plays about 9 minutes a game and only takes 6 or 7 shots. That's what I'm saying. I wish coaches would play into storylines more and understand get back, understand motivation, understand, Nick Nurse was good for this. Nick Nurse used to play guys on the Raptors in situations where he knew they were hungry and they wanted to get back. We were playing a team like we had Stanley Johnson in the Tempo year, and we're going to play the Pistons, and the Pistons dropped the ball on Stanley Johnson's early career. So Nick's going to put an emphasis on Stanley Johnson, say, go get him. Go beat your former team who dropped the ball on you in your first couple years. Yeah, and motivation, you play into it. That's why I'm saying there's opportunities that sometimes these coaches don't take advantage of. And Lexi Held having any kind of competitive spirit against the Tempo because we cut her. That's smart by Tibbetts to do that. That's smart. Give her a big whole thing and write the storyline. Get her all motivated too. Lexi, they didn't want you. Go make them pay. They didn't want you. You go out there and tear them up, 16 points. If I was a coach in a situation like that, I'd be playing all this kind of stuff. Maybe it's manipulative, maybe it's mind games, but in some ways, mind games is what made Michael Jordan so great because he had to lie to himself and say, "Man, Joe Dumars said something about my grandma." Now, would Joe Dumars ever say anything about Michael Jordan's grandma? No. Joe Dumars is a nice man from Louisiana, and he would never ever say anything about Michael Jordan's grandmother. Why does Michael Jordan think that he said something about his grandma? Because he's crazy, he's delusional, and he's competitive, and he wants that edge, and he'll make it up in his head just to be pissed off enough to go at him in the game and tear him up. That's what I'm saying. You got to use these natural situations to get the best out of your players. And kudos to Coach Tibbetts for relying and starting and giving Lexi Held a huge chunk of the time. Well, he's going to have to fill in that time. Mack and Thomas are out. They got other players out. Nogic is not coming back this season now because she's just going to stay overseas for the rest of the year. She'll be back next year, apparently, is what they're saying. So, that's an opportunity. Well, Lexi, you seem like you're chomping at the bit. Let's start you and see what you do. That's it right there. That's it right there. Yeah. Let's see. Mr. Greg saying, I have torn my ACL, MCL, and meniscus, but I was in my 40s by then. Yeah. That's that's crazy. In some ways, that's like the injury to Fred, and this is what Pat Bev said in that podcast. He said, that team, I was watching the Rockets last year, and they were so bad without you. Like, and he even had insight. He was saying stuff like, even Udoka, MA couldn't yell at the team correctly this year because all of them are youngsters and they have like egos that get bruised. And, Fred, you're a tough guy. And in some ways, he could take it out on you. So in some ways, Pat Bev was saying from his outside observing, he's saying the Rockets couldn't even be coached right because Udoka had to babysit them more. And Fred is the kind of guy where he can lay into and yell at him, and it gets more results from the whole entire team. And Fred doesn't care because Fred's tough. And Fred knows the coach has the best intention. He doesn't take any of it personally. But and he also said, like, there's so many areas where we could see where if Fred had been involved in the Rockets season, they would have been so much better. So once again, the absence of Fred VanVleet really crushed the Rockets season this year. And some people that don't understand why or how, well, go listen to the Unguarded podcast. Patrick Beverly will explain it all to you real simply on that. Yeah, real simply. Yeah, I don't like Pat Bev still, but it was interesting to hear him kick it with Fred. And thank God Sarge is not on that show anymore. It seems like Fred got the message and understood that he's dead wood that you're carrying. And you don't need him to be in there taking a certain percentage of the minutes of your podcast, just spouting off and talking his bullshit when nobody wants to hear what he has to say. You just interview Patrick Beverly directly. Yeah, cut out the excess. Cut out the stuff that's not necessary. Yeah, it's cool. Mr. Greg saying off topic, but that is what the Blue Jays did to George Bell. I'm not even sure what aspect. Once again, this is a crazy, in some ways, it's the thing. We move so fast. In some ways, it's almost like you have to reintroduce the subject and to flesh it all out. I'm trying to figure out what you mean. I do have a George Bell jersey here. It's my only Blue Jays jersey. I have a George Bell jersey here. It's kind of crazy. Mr. Greg saying that Elamon triple-double could have happened. It could have happened. It was there. The broadcast was promoting it. It was there, but it didn't happen. It didn't happen. It was nice to see the broadcast crew for the Canadian broadcast was Audibert and Cullen. Matt Cullen calls a lot of 905 games. And, he kind of lost I don't know what happened. They just tried other people, and he didn't really do most of the games the second half of the season at all. I think he did like maybe one or two 905 games. They had different people jumping in there. Schulman, Cullen, Urban. They had Tamika, Nurse, and, they tried a lot of different people in the commentary at 905 this past season. But Matt Cullen with Amy Audibert, that's a good pairing. And I understand why they took Audibert out of the pairing with Ponticello, because their voices are the same. they sit on the broadcast and you can't understand, you can't tell who's who. It's almost like somebody's talking to themselves at the broadcast when it's Daniela Pacello and Amy Audibert. So the nurse Daniela combo is better because they have a different voice and a different kind of work. And now I don't know, Audibert with Cullen, that works. That works there. Amy Audibert's fantastic. She's got the job with Miami down south during the NBA season, but it's nice that she's back home doing WNBA coverage at this point of the year. Yeah. Yeah. It was a very big event yesterday. There was a lot of people at the game. In fact, let me do the Raptors Redditor of the day. It's Kerfuffles. She's the Redditor for the Raptors and the Tempo today. That's a new achievement. We've never had the Redditor of the day be the same person for both the Tempo and the Raptors, but it's going to be Kerfuffles because she went and posted. I'm just guessing it's a she. It's just, I don't know them. I don't know who they are. They could be a guy too. Who knows? Coach Darko and our rookies at the first Tempo game held at Scotiabank Arena. Yes, Darko sitting at courtside with Jaden Bradley and Alan Graves. And Alan's wearing the Raptor shirt. And yeah, they're sitting there. We had the first open gym with them involved. Just came out. I guess it's the first show of the season, the new season. It's like the pilot, the first show of the new season is usually the draft show. And we saw the insight of Alan Graves and Jaden Bradley getting drafted to the Raptors. We heard some interesting things from the War Room and Bobby Webster in that open gym yesterday. And, well, they were very set on getting Alan Graves. They didn't waste any time. They didn't take hardly any time in the clock. They were saying, well, Bobby's like, wait 30 seconds and then call them. They were very much like, yeah, we're just getting Alan. And you could tell, like, from the workout, because they show the footage of the workout, and you can see both Bradley and Graves are there, that Alan Graves was really getting along and vibing with the Raptors in that workout. And he is completely authentically ecstatic to be a Toronto Raptor. There's no denying it. You can't fake this kind of enthusiasm. This dude's all about it. And, we see them in the OVO Center with the Noah board. Welcome, Alan Graves. He's just beaming with pride, and they're hugging each other and saying, congratulations. Yo, congratulations to you, too. We caught a little audio snippet of Bobby Webster saying, this guy's going to be great with Colin. They're going to wreak havoc. And he's going to look great coming off the bench with Colin and Jamal. Whoa, wait a second. Did Bobby just say that? Wait a second. Raptors Nation, did you hear him? I hope y'all did. You watch Open Gym, right? He gave you information right there, and you need to take heed of it. The starting five is the starting five. Colin Murray-Boyles is off the bench. That's what Bobby just said. That he wants Graves and Murray-Boyles paired up, coming off the bench with Shed as the backup point guard, and that is the look we're coming with. So I know everybody wants to switch Yak out of the starting lineup and put CMB in the starting lineup. That's not the plan. Bobby just called it. In some ways, it's a very sly way to do it. In some ways, it's a very smart way to put out stupid fires about Raptors lineups and fans' beliefs and what they think should happen. Get them used to it from the start. Say, yeah, listen, Colin's going to be coming off the bench this year next to Alan Graves, and they're going to be a wreaking havoc, Raptors fans. So get used to that. And understand, if somebody gets hurt in the starting lineup, sure, Colin's probably the first guy who jumps in the starting lineup otherwise. But we have a starting five of Emmanuel Quickley, RJ Barrett, Brandon Ingram, Scotty Barnes, and Yaka Pirtle. And that is the plan for going into next year, unless things change because of trades. But otherwise, that's the plan. That's the plan. They said there's a deadline for this whole Kawhi thing, and it's tomorrow. Part of it has to do with Bogdanovich and his deadlines. You know what tomorrow is? It's Kawhi's birthday. Yeah. Tomorrow is Kawhi Leonard's birthday. Wouldn't that be crazy if Kawhi Leonard got traded back to either the Spurs or the Raptors on his birthday tomorrow? Isn't that crazy? That'd be crazy. Lots of people were at the game yesterday. for the tempo, including, and I want to show this because I want to go over this list. I don't want to miss out because there's quite a whole parade of people. First of all, we had the rookies with Darko sitting at courtside, but they weren't the only Raptors at the game yesterday. No, we had Nelly Furtado in the crowd. She was there. We had all kinds of stars and stuff. But up in the box, we had some of our younger Raptors, and it's very telling and interesting which ones were there. In some ways, there was somebody there that I was really shocked to see that was there. In some ways, there were some people that weren't there that I was very shocked that weren't there. Now, we have confirmation that Jamal Shed, Jacoby Walter, Elijah Martin, Chucky Hepburn, Jonathan Mobo, and Tyreek Key were at the Tempo game yesterday in a box, watching the game as teammates from up at the 200 level. But where's Jamison Battle? Where's AJ Lawson? AJ Lawson's on vacation. He's nowhere near the Raptors, and it's signaling and showing signs that he's not a part of their plans. That's what I'm going to say. Sandro Mamu, nowhere near here. In fact, he opted out, and there's more and more overtures from his camp that he's going to be going to a new city to play for basketball next year. So, yeah, very telling. In some ways, this tells us these youngsters that were there yesterday are a part of the plan, if not at least for summer league and training camp. And Tyreek Key was there. That's weird to me, man. I really thought, okay, they let Tyreek come up. They didn't actually let him play in an NBA game. He's been around the team at the end of the year, graduated from 905, but now he's coming to games with them at Tempo. Wait a second. Why is Tyreek there? Is he going to be at training camp? He's going to be on our summer league roster? We'll have to see. We'll have to pay attention to Tyreek Key. And I'm also wondering big time, where the hell was Jamison Battle? Where was he? Because there are some tough decisions with these guys. We've officially brought Shed, Hepburn, and Martin back into the fold. They are under contract for next year already. Mobo's not official yet, but it's a team option. We can just say, yeah, we're bringing you back for the $2+ million that we, Jacoby's under contract. He's coming back for sure. But Battle, I don't have any idea about. And this is a signal. And where the hell is Grady? Why isn't Grady at this game with the young players that are coming back like this too? These are the kind of things you wonder about when Raptors are gathering the offseason. You start paying attention to who's there and who isn't. That's what you got to do right there. Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's keep going. Fiercey's saying this. You could absolutely see Marina was annoyed at crunch time. She wanted to be on the court. I know that's the trade-off, Marina. Maybe you don't whine about your neck next time. You just go through it. I mean, what if somebody hits you in the neck and it hurts it worse? Yeah, that's a risk, I guess. But most of the time, you're protected from the neck and head region by the refs. If anybody's doing that kind of stuff, that Alyssa Thomas kind of stuff, it's frowned upon. I don't know. I just don't like how she didn't play at the last minute. And to me, it struck me as anxiety. That's what I was thinking before they gave us a reason. I was like, is she have anxiety? Is that why she's not out there? Brighter lights, bigger arena, more expectations because she just dropped 53 and she knows it's likely she's going to disappoint people because she can't match that exactly this time. I don't know. There's a lot of psychology to that. But it was her neck. She wrenched her neck. Geez. I thought at first they were saying she's not going to start, but she's going to try and get in the game at some point. That would have helped. She can't start the game. Put some Tiger Balm on that shit and sit for about half an hour. You'll be ready for the fourth. Seriously, where's the trainer here? Where's Rayon Malik? Seriously. Who the fuck is in charge of this for Tempo? Come on. You can try and figure this out. No, we're just going to let her sit. Is this some sort of weird, convoluted load management? Well, this isn't the game to do it, Teresa Resch. When you got almost 15,000 people coming to see Marina Mabrey and all of a sudden they show up and they're let down? Mark Cuban says this is about the experience. This is about the crowd experience and the memories. You got to give them the memories. You got to put the product out there. Get the Tiger Bomb. That's what I'm saying. Get the Tiger Bomb. Seriously, I have a stiff neck. I wrench my neck. I put Tiger Balm on. I feel 100 times better 15 minutes later. Get the Tiger Balm. Where's the Tiger Balm for Marina Mabrey? And why couldn't she just step into the game in the second half after her neck loosened up from the heat of the Tiger Balm? Seriously, maybe I should be the trainer for the tempo. Marina, your neck don't feel well? Here, I got this. I got it in Chinatown. This is the real stuff. Yeah, my friend Mr. Lee told me where to go. Yeah, Mr. Lee, my Chinese landlord when I lived in Kensington Market. Yeah, he got me the good stuff. This is the kind of stuff you get up the alley off Spadina. Yeah, this stuff will fix you quick. Yeah, maybe I should be the trainer of the tempo. I could get you Tiger Balm, Marina Mabrey. And then this fix the crowd's happy. We win. Sandy's happy. You're happy because you didn't sit on the court, sit on the bench and watch the team shit the bed and lose at the end of the game because you weren't out there being the leader to take it home. We could have done this. Tiger Balm ain't that expensive. It's just a little canister like this. Just rub a little around all that there. Around there. It may smell a little bit. It's fine. It's working. You just get it in there good. Rub it in nice. Rub it in nice. Rub it in so that it feels good. And feel that burn. And feel that tightness go away. Yeah, I don't get this. I don't get this. She was definitely annoyed. And she definitely had those I'm seeing my life slip away in front of me kind of eyes. Like I am just missing on opportunity right here. Oh, I hate that. I hate that. Don't do that. Make it happen. Be there. Show up. That's what I say right there. Yeah. Yeah. Fiercely saying this. You're right. They didn't step up. I should have said how they demonstrated hustle and fight when both leaders are out. That is valiant in some ways. In some ways, they weren't coming in mentally prepared to face this team and play this game without Marina Mabrey. That's another thing. A lot of times, a lot of things that happen in basketball games is pre-thought and premeditation and amping yourself up and kind of thinking about the situation and the settings. Having her wrenched out of the whole thing as such a huge part of it at the last second. Who knows? Maybe Julie Lamond and the rest of them didn't do the mental preparation with the whole picture missing Mabrey. Maybe they're like, oh, crap. If they know the night before Mabrey's out, we got to do something. They sleep on it and they're more motivated and they show up more prepared because they understand the assignment better. But if they came in the morning of the game, they do shoot around. Marina's there. They're shooting around with her. They're expecting her to play with her. Oh, crap. Now somebody's got to do it. Nobody did pre-thought. Nobody did pre-work mentally to think that I have to step up and do this in this case. Sometimes, you know what? Maybe you need to be on the ball and just say, yeah, next woman up in an instant because injuries, fouling out, and all kinds of stuff like that can happen at any point in a basketball game where you're missing that person anyway. So you need to be on the fly and ready to jump in that spot at a moment's notice without the pre-thought. But I'm like, man, who's going to do this? This is an opportunity. This is where you make money. This is where you carve out a role. This is where you get more minutes. This is where you show something because you got the opportunity all of a sudden because it opened up. That's the thing right there. That's the thing right there. That's right. Fiercely saying, Lex, do you think yesterday's showing will hinder our chances on getting more games at Scotiabank Arena? That's a great question, Fiercely, and I'm glad you asked it. I don't think so. We have more games there. The thing about the games there is maybe the part of the problem with this game was they intended to sell out and fill the arena partly on the whole thing that is pride. It's not the opponent. Nobody's coming down there to see Phoenix Mercury play the Toronto Tempo because it's really more like this is Pride Weekend. This is an afternoon WNBA game at the Scotiabank Arena. And if you want, come on down for this part of your Pride Weekend. And then you can go back to your parties or whatever you're doing later in the afternoon, in the evening for Pride. That was really what this game was designed around. Now, the games later this season at Scotiabank Arena, we're playing Minnesota. We're playing Caitlin Clark. We're playing big-time popular teams that will draw. And in some ways, the Scotiabank Arena game with Indiana Fever later this season, let's see how much that sells out because of Clark's coming. That's once again what I'm going to say. In some ways, this is exactly like wrestling. You got big names like Hulk Hogan, The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin. This is what sells tickets. This is what sells and gets people in the butts in the seat. And that's why Caitlin Clark getting a throat punch from Melissa Thomas is not good for business, because now she's going to miss a game today. And that's a game that where people were coming to see her. That's the thing. Angel Reese, she's a superstar. People come to see Angel Reese. People come to see Caitlin Clark. People come to see Marina Mabrey. So you don't want the attraction. You don't want the Dwayne The Rock Johnson not showing up and making the appearance and giving the fans what they want, because that's what memories are made. That's what made my memory when I went to Omni in Atlanta and I saw Dominique Wilkins do a windmill slam on the Boston Celtics, and I got to see Larry Bird hit a three. That's the thing. These are the people that draw you to the games, the names that are bigger than the game. And in some ways, that's part of the marketing, and that's part of what will put them in the seats. Is Caitlin Clark's coming to Toronto, and she'll be playing at Scotiabank Arena. And I'll bet you they'll get closer to the full capacity of that arena because she's coming. Does that make sense? So no, I don't think this is going to put them in jeopardy for having games there. It's just that they got to market these games and make them bigger and special. And if there's a marquee name that's coming that we're playing against, well, that can make it blow up the attendance right there. So yeah, I mean, this is the other thing. We'll have to see how the game you're going to go to is going to be, because that's the one they're really touting, because that's the one that they want to break the attendance record for a WNBA game ever. You're going to a historic game. Hopefully Montreal will come through. They'll fill it up, and you will be a part of that record, MJ. You will be a part of that record. Mr. Gregg saying this: Bell was the MVP, and the Blue Jays wanted to make him the DH the following season. Okay, I'm glad you elaborated on this. So, like Fred, with him playing so well, and then the next season, he said this too, is that he thinks part of it was contract stuff. Like they want to manipulate things to try and not make him so prominent and so important, so that they, in the next contract talks, they don't have to pay him as much. That's a dirty trick that teams will do sometimes. They'll limit players and their roles and their minutes and what they're doing, because in some ways they're thinking about the bookkeeping and thinking about the next contract. And in some ways they may want to like govern or hold that person down so that they don't have to pay them as much. And Fred kind of alluded to that with the Raptors and their strategy of why they switched him off ball when that switch happened after his all-star year with the Raptors. That's interesting. So you're saying, yeah, I vaguely remember this. George Bell was always like one of the leaders in home runs in the American League. And, he was such a powerful hitter. And, I mean, I would also make the argument, I don't know, that DH spot, maybe they were trying to limit his usage in the field. I don't know, because he was a pretty good outfielder from what I remember. Wasn't he right field? So it's like, man, that's a long time ago. I haven't thought about that. And I totally remember this when they did switch him to DH. That's a good point, Greg. And I think that there's parallels there for sure. There's definitely parallels for sure. Mr. Gregg saying, I don't think so, Fiercey, in terms of having more games at Scotiabank Arena. Yeah, I don't think it'll affect this, because money is still going to be money. And it may be that they're not ready to be there regularly and really fill it out all the time. But this is catching more and more interest, and there is a lot of enthusiasm, and they're getting pretty good crowds. They just got to keep building. The Raptors didn't become an overnight sensation, although they were very popular at the beginning, and people liked the novelty and the oddity of the NBA in Toronto, that they came and supported it. But if you really think about the strong, really passionate, crazy fervor of the Raptors nation and filling our arena, whether it's a bad team or a good team, whether we're winning or losing, that didn't come until Lewicki and Masai. Maybe you could talk about the stuff with Vince and the big spotlight at that point, but that went away. That didn't sustain. The respect for the Raptors went with Vince to New Jersey, out the window. And well, to get the culture and to get the loyalty and the night in, night out show up of the crowd like the Raptors enjoy at this point in their team, the Tempo are going to have to earn it, and they're going to have to get time and get culture and get that loyalty built into it. And we'll see what the numbers are like. It could very well be, with the expansion of interest in the WNBA and women's sports in general, that it is financially feasible for the Tempo to play in Scotiabank Arena a big chunk of their games in the future. Could be that they increase the games or they decrease the games over the next few years. I think it's more likely that they increase the games. We have to remember also that part of the reason why Ed Rogers and MLSE did not want to get the Tempo in the first place is that they get a lot of money from summer concert series, that they like to have Taylor Swift come down there and do a bunch of shows or some big musical act. And that's why they weren't totally ready to commit all the dates of the home games for the Tempo to use the arena for basketball, because they have stuff like The Weeknd coming down there or Drake or somebody like that. They got these big concerts and they make a ton of money off those. And maybe in most cases, they make more money off that than the basketball. So some of it is a financial decision by MLSE to not want the Tempo because they didn't want to occupy the Scotiabank Arena for all the home games like that. So the bits and times where they get in, well, that has to be pre-organized through Scotiabank Arena and their schedule for their concerts and all the other events that they do during the summer. So that's a part of it right there. So we'll see. We'll see. They're scheduled to play there again. Yeah, I think they have at least 2 more games there, if not 3, at Scotiabank Arena for the rest of the season. What did you guys think of the court yesterday? I felt like that court was so fire. I loved the big maple leaf in the middle. And that court apparently is going to be packed up from Scotiabank Arena and taken to Bell Center in Montreal. That will be the court that they play on in Montreal and Vancouver as they travel across Canada and play these home games in the other cities. So that's the official Canada court for playing these big games, Scotiabank Arena, Vancouver, and Montreal games. I thought it was awesome. And then you had like the powder blue, the hydrogen blue, whatever blue jerseys that they wore yesterday that went with the edges of the court. I just thought the look looked so fresh, original, and like nothing I've ever seen before as a basketball court jersey combo anywhere. And I'm talking about all the college teams, everything, everywhere. I've never ever seen that scheme and the way it looked. And I thought it looked fresh. I enjoyed it. And I loved the big maple leaf on the middle of their court at Scotiabank Arena yesterday. That was cool. That was very, very cool. Big props to whoever came up with the whole layout and the design of all that, because it really does make us differentiated, makes us look different. You know, in some ways, the Tempo are not using a dinosaur for an entry point for people to come and get into them. They're using colors in a very original, attractive way to get people involved with them. That Bordeaux is so striking and unique and different. And it really is a signature thing about this franchise starting out. We found out in the open gym yesterday that Uncle Allen is now a dinosaur. That was very cute. All the extra stuff in open gym where you see like Allen coming into his room and they've got the care package on the table of all the iconic Canadian things like Smarties and ketchup chips. And he's trying them all. He's trying them all. And Allen's crazy. And people are like, whoa, that's what a guy from the South would do. And some people up here were like, whoa, I never thought of that. Dude is a savant. I guess he's just a genius or something. I don't know. I think Alan Graves is a savant. He's a genius already. I'm already calling it. And I haven't even seen him play a game in a jersey for the Raptors. That man took a Timbit and doused it in maple syrup. He had a maple syrup that they gifted him and a box of Timbits. And this is the connection he makes in his head. I'm going to take this Timbit that's full of sugar already, and I'm going to douse it in Canadian maple syrup, 100% Canadian maple syrup. And I hope you're making the Raptors get big leads so I can say you just layer that Canadian maple syrup on thick, Alan Graves, on that Timbit. Because he did. He was pouring it all over. I was like, whoa. I was like, wait, game changer. What is this guy doing? He's teaching Canadians how to Canadian even harder. Because a lot of people in the comments and the open gym post on YouTube were saying, I never thought about putting syrup on my Timbits. This is crazy. That man put syrup on a Timbit. He started eating it. I was like, whoa, this is a game changer. I was like, this is as Canadian as you could get, bro. Ate a Timbit with maple syrup covering it. Man, what are you doing, man? I'm a little worried because he took those snacks too easy. He's probably like Scotty. Scotty came in the league. Yeah, they're one and dones. They were bench players. They didn't start their 1 year at Santa Clara and FSU. Well, Scott also, Alan, you're gonna have to fix your eating habits. I can already tell. We know from Scotty's Twitch rookie year after his Twitch stuff in 2022, the man was eating junk food. In some ways, one of the big ways that Scotty leapt in his career and got way better is he had more discipline about what he eats. He stopped eating junk. Well, I think Alan Graves is going to have to get that point too in the next year or so. Enjoy the Canadian snacks right now they're putting out there. In some ways, it's kind of cruel of the Raptors organization to give him all this junk food. And then in a couple months, you're going to say, yeah, you can't eat any of that anymore because you're a Raptor and you need to eat a good diet. We have these chefs here at OVO. You can come down here anytime and they'll make you something, but it'll be healthy and it'll be good for your career instead of like eating a bunch of chips and Timbits with syrup on them and all this other crap we gave you, Smarties and candy bars and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. Yeah. He took to that stuff too easy. I can tell he eats junk food. I can tell he does. But Alan Graves, you won't be at the top of your game in the NBA. You can cut that all out like Scotty Barnes. That's right. Scotty's going to show you nutrition. He's going to come up to Alan at some point and say, bro, man, why are you eating all this junk all the time, bro? We're in this together. We're trying to make this work. We got to win. We all got to be our best. So you got to stop eating all this junk food, Alan. Seriously, bro. There's going to be an intervention at some point. I'm going to tell you right now. There's going to be an intervention. Oh, to be a fly on the wall to hear that locker room talk between RJ and Scotty and Alan Graves and Colin Murray-Boyles. They're probably going to sit there and have a chat. Yo, this is an intervention, Alan. You're in the NBA now, bro. You can't be eating junk food and just eating whatever you want at this point. You got to take care of your body. Your body is your temple. Your body is your vessel to make your millions of dollars in this league. And you're going to be a Stay Puft Marshmallow Man because you're eating junk? No, we can't do this, Alan Graves. No, we can't. And Scotty will be speaking from his own experience with this because he did make the switch. He went from that baby fat in the first season in the rookie year, and then he started working out harder and eating right. And you can see the definition of his muscles much better at this point. This is an important adjustment Graves is going to have to make. But he's having fun. This is the early time. It's orientation. The tough stuff like that will come later. The sacrifice. That's what they talk about when the players say we make sacrifices for what we do in this league. Yeah, they sacrifice time with loved ones. They sacrifice the ability to do whatever they want sometimes because they have to go on the road and do this. They sacrifice eating Timbits with syrup on them. That's right. They make sacrifices on what they can and cannot do. So Alan Graves, don't ever eat a Timbit with maple syrup on it again. Seriously, bro. Seriously, you're young, you're wild, you're 19. You can get away with it with your metabolism right now, but as you get older, ask Garrett Temple. He'll tell you. He'll tell you right there. In the Open Gym episode, also, we saw, man, I'm going to read Jaden Bradley a little bit right now. All right. First of all, I don't know if he's as enthusiastic to be on the Raptors as Alan Graves. I mean, in some ways, I don't know how you can be. Alan Graves is just overjoyed. But he's giving me some signs that he's a little about being here. First of all, he's not wearing Raptors gear. He's been wearing the same Raspberry Hill sweatshirt in all the pictures. Second of all, when he came into the locker room for the Raptors in the Open Gym episode and saw he got the short locker, he was not impressed. This is something I want to espouse on for a second that has been going on for a few years with the Raptors. And if you really know about it, you really know about it. But I'm gonna let y'all in on it. In the Raptors locker room, there's only a certain amount of space. And in some ways, they have these little half-ass lockers that are not the full locker size, that is to the side and next to the doorway. And well, last year, Elijah and Chucky had them. They're basically for guys that are at the lowest end of the totem pole in the team. They get a little half-ass locker. And you can see it in the Open Gym episode that Bradley's got one of the half lockers right now. This is a very, very, very purposeful psychological tool the Raptors are using. Seriously, this is on purpose. This is the kind of thing where, and I'm gonna talk about Elijah Martin in a second, because I watched his drop from this week on his YouTube channel yesterday. This is a psychological thing. You got a guy who came from Arizona. You got a guy who's a team leader, a top player for his team in college. And there's an ego. There's a certain level of like, I'm a competitor, I'm a top dog. Well, in some ways, you're going to humble yourself. Come to the NBA, you got to start all over. This is a new level. You start in level one again. You may achieve high levels in the video game called NCAA college basketball, but you're in NBA basketball now. And you got to start the new level, the lowest spot. This is something that hit hard on Elijah Martin last year when he showed up. And I could tell, and this is part of the reason why I was talking about Elijah the way I did last year, that bro, his ego is huge, and he did not think that he belonged as a two-way. He had his ego, he took a blow to his ego when he found out he's not a full player and he's a two-way and he's got the half locker and all this stuff. He's like, man, I'm better than this. I'm NCAA champion. I'm Florida Gators. I'm Elijah Martin. Come on now. What is this? Y'all are slighting me and stuff like that. He had to eat humble pie. And in some ways, on his latest YouTube vlog that just came out, he talks very openly about it. It's like last year when I came into the Raptors, I was disappointed because I didn't think I deserved to be a two-way. I thought I'm better than that. I should be on the team straight up. But he learned the business. He learned the business. He said that I found out the NBA is a business in a whole other level that I didn't even realize. That was what was shocking. And I have to play the game. And now I understand that everything that I thought arrogantly at the beginning of the year, I have to play ball with the system and the business that the NBA is. And in some ways, it was funny because he talks about this while he's driving his car on the 401. And he basically says, I'm in a really blessed position still, though. He's like, all right, that's the right turnaround. That's the right turnaround. He comes in, he's egotistical. He's like, no, I'm better than this. Don't give me the half locker. Don't give me a two-way. I'm a real player. I should be playing on this team. I should be better than this. And that's how he's got this internal conflict. But as he's going through the whole thing, and he's seeing the whole thing, he's like, oh, okay, this is going to be way harder than I thought it was going to be. I thought this was going to be so easy. No, it's not. Because it's not even just dependent on you, Elijah Martin, and whether you're talented enough or you're good enough. Because honestly, a lot of these guys are. It's about getting the opportunity. It's about doing things right so that you set yourself up to jump into the spot when the opportunity comes, like the tempo players had yesterday. And in some ways, he's getting it. And I like this. This is a good sign because he had to humble himself a bit through the season. And now he gets it. And he said, I've been sitting up at the front of the bench with Garrett Temple and the coaches so that I can learn more about the NBA level, learn about more about what they're looking for, learn about more what I can mold myself into to be more attractive, to get more playing time and to get more burn and get more money and time in the NBA. Because his look, that was a shocking thing for him. You're a G League. You're going to be playing Mississauga. You're not a full Raptor. You're going to be out there. And well, you know, he got rising star. He was one of the best G League players. And he's got to see that the grind has levels to it. And at least he understands it better now. And in some ways, his ego is not clouding his vision. I'm worried about that for Jaden Bradley. He came in that room, he saw his locker, he was not impressed. Let's just put it that way. And the energy around him is totally different than Allen Graves. Now, some of that may be very much. This is first round, this is second round pick and stuff like that. But Bradley may need to learn some of the lessons that Elijah Martin learned last year because Elijah Martin's way better off for it. And in some ways, he won't get in the middle of, in the way of his success by shooting himself in the foot for some egotistical way. It's just how it is. It's hard to make this league. That's why my voice last year may have not been a lot of people like a lot of people's about Elijah Martin saying, I don't know if he's going to make it, y'all. In some ways, his archetype and how he is as a player, his build is not one that makes the NBA. So in some ways, it's like he's got to be creative. He's got to listen. He's got to learn. He's got to adjust. And then maybe he'll do it. You know, it's not easy to become Fred VanVleet. Let's just put it that way. It's not easy. Fred kind of let known his secrets for how he did it, though, in that podcast with Pat Bev. He basically said, like, I'd be looking at everybody that they said was better than me, and I'd compare myself, and I would try and make myself better than them. And that's how I rose to the level that I have at this point in my career as an undrafted player out of college, you know? That's how it worked right there. Yeah, it's really, really interesting stuff. I hope that whole stuff I was talking about, my insights on the little locker, because it's smart. Think about it. The little locker tells the player, you want a big locker, you got to earn it. It's like a lighting fire on their feet. It's like, you want it, light a fire in their ass. You go get it. You really want a full-fledged locker? Well, you have to bust your ass and kick some ass. And maybe next year you'll get a full-fledged locker. There's levels to this. And in some ways, it's a very built-in psychological thing that the Raptors have half lockers in their locker room and they give them to certain guys. That's a motivation right there, Jaden Bradley. That's a motivation. That's what that is. Neil's got the dogs out. Who let the dogs out? Neil. Who let the dogs out? It was Blackhawk. That's right. That's right. Major Sports is saying that's an easy sellout with Indiana. Yeah, I think so too. It's very smart. I mean, obviously, I want to see the power of Caitlin Clark in Canada and see the sellout at Scotiabank Arena, 19,800 people come down there, because we got 15,000 yesterday for the Mercury. Well, can we get the rest of them in there for Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever in like a month from now? Yeah, good to see you back in the chat, Major Sports Network. Saying, do you think that the Tempo is going to make the playoffs? It'd be crazy if they did. I mean, there's a couple strikes against them. Number one, they're a first-year team that really doesn't have a lot established, and they're still finding their way as they go. Number two, they've had the most injury missed games of all the WNBA teams this year. That's a true stat. It's crazy. Like, they've had like over 60 player games missed, and these are key players. I mean, our $1 million backcourt missed the game yesterday, along with our number one pick. And we've had our bigs missing for a big chunk of the beginning of the season with Sabali and Harrison, and Fagbenle even. Yeah, it's crazy. Julie's missed games. We've had a lot of different people missing games at different times. And add to it that the Tempo do not use their development spots, and we literally have a 12-woman roster. And that, we missed two players already in Rice and Sykes. And then Marina's a scratch right before the game. Well, that means we only have 9 players to play. And whoa, you're gonna bench the rookie from Kentucky. We're playing 8 players. Oh, and you're gonna shorten the minutes of the Lithuanian player too. It's like, oh my gosh. It's like really scraping the ball in the barrel and really utilizing the team. I think that Sandy's priority is building a culture, and it doesn't matter if there's a lot of them. She just really wants the right ones, even if there's only a few of them. I think that's why Fazula and Milic left. Maybe that's why Held wasn't held on to, is because she really wanted to make a really tight unit that really, really clicks and really, really has that chemistry. It's weird. They are the weirdest expansion team I've ever seen in my life, I think, because they've had everything thrown at them to be bad, but they've actually got a pretty good record, and they are in the mix. I don't know. It could change a lot with the return of Rice and Sykes. The part of it is in our favor is that our harder part of the schedule is later on. We've got an easier part of our schedule in the beginning, and this will be part of what determines it. When we have to have more games against Aces and Liberty and Valkyries and all these other teams that we haven't really seen a lot yet, Lynx, that's going to be the real test. And hopefully, if we have good luck, we have timing with good players coming back to be able to uptick us at those right times when we do have to face these really powerful teams coming up next month. So I don't know. Major Sports, in some ways, I could be a homer and say, I know they're going to make the playoffs because I believe in them. But in some ways, the way that the injuries have been happening and just all the chaos and some of the things that Sandy's making order out of just disorder is impressive. But how much of that will actually add up to allowing us to get one of those last playoff spots? I don't know. We've been in that spot here and there in the last couple of weeks. We bounce in and out of it. Who knows? We'll have to see where the ball bounces near the end of the quarter at the end of the season. And maybe we just happen to be on the winning side, and there is a sneak into the playoffs in the 8th spot or something like that. I guess it's like the NBA. It's like if you have around a 500 record, you might be in the playoffs, right? It's kind of like that. You got to probably have at least a 500 record to be in the playoffs. If you're not, you're probably on the outside. Yeah, this is a great question, Major Sports. And that's my personal view of it is what I just said. It's like, man, if we get injuries cleared up and these people come back and we get back to that level that we were showing at Signs in the last before Sykes went out, we got a good chance. I think that once again, the strength is Sandy. And Sandy, if we had had a different coach, I think that they would have floundered and really had a much worse outcomes than what Toronto's done so far. And that the experience and the leadership and the way Sandy does things is absolutely helping us win some games and keeping things together amidst the chaos of this season so far. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Neil's saying this. Lex, you're making too much about the junk food. The Raptors nutritionists will fix him up. We have seen it on Open Gym multiple times. Graves is the right place and they will fix him up. I know. I'm just making jokes about it. I know this is going to happen because I can tell Allen don't eat right. He just doesn't. I can tell the way he went right to that stuff. Because see, look, a lot of athletes second guess whether they should eat something sometimes. They really go through it in their head. They're very conscious. They're very purposeful because their body is their tool for what they do, right? So, like, you got to be smart like that. I don't think Allen's got any filter or worries about that. He's still a young man that's probably just done what he's done, and it doesn't matter. And that's part of the reason why his body is not totally to the top optimal level that it could be. So, nutrition and weight training are going to change his body on our team, just like we've seen so many of the Raptors in the last couple of years change their bodies. Walter, Shed, Barnes, Barrett, Colin's coming around. Colin's going to be very interesting because he's so strong already. This dude starts shedding the baby fat and he's starting looking like third year Scotty. Oh, look out. People think Colin Murray-Boyles is already strong. He's going to get stronger. It's crazy. And even Scotty told us on Twitch in the last 2 weeks that one of his main focuses this summer in his off-season program is to strength train and get even stronger than he is already. This is insane. So, if those three guys, we'll call them the shit disturbers or something like that. I don't know. If they're all adding muscle and they're getting stronger, figure it out. Alan Graves has a lot of room to grow into muscle and good nutritional habits. Colin's in the middle, and Scotty's a little bit further around with the finished product. Man, Jacoby Walter, they're calling him Jacoby Swalter because he's swole. His arms are crazy already this offseason. This is the stuff right here. And this is the stuff that a lot of people overlook as far as improving the team is that these guys are really working hard in the offseason. This isn't like Barkley's era where the NBA players would be done with the season. They're hitting the bars and pizza and they're getting out of shape and they don't even care. There literally was a thing in the NBA back in the day where guys would show up at training camp and they were overweight and they'd have to work the fat off in training camp. But it was accepted because it's just like, well, they're on their off time. They're not an employee in the summer. They can do whatever they want. They showed up in camp. Oh, Barkley's 350 pounds again. Oh my God, did he do that again? Yes, he did, Harold. He did do that again. Why is he so fat all the time? Why can't he just do his job and be in shape? I think he hates you, Harold. I think that's why. Oh, wow. Okay. That's actually true. Charles Barkley would come back to training camp because he's mad at the Philadelphia 76ers owner, Harold Katz, overweight on purpose. This is the thing. We can remember this from the mid-2010s with Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry would come back and he'd be out of shape coming into Raptors training camp and trying to have to work back into shape. And then at some point, Kyle kind of switched too. And he said, no, man, I want a longevity. I want to be in this league longer. I'm going to get in shape all season, off season, and I'm going to come back and be in shape when I come back in the off season to preseason. And he started doing that, and that probably added the ability for him to play up until this past year. If Kyle Lowry had done things the way he did them in Memphis and Houston and the beginning of his time in Toronto, he wouldn't have played this long in the league. It really was a switch where he actually started doing an off-season regimen to take care of his body. This is how this league is evolving. You have to be so working hard all 365 days of the year. This is why Pascal is better and why he does it, because he does it the whole year round, what he does. Kawhi does it the whole year round, what he does. Fred confirmed this, that Kawhi taught them a lot of shit, and that's why they all got better in the championship year with him. That Pascal, OG, Fred, all of them were looking at what Kawhi was doing and stealing what he was doing. And that was a big part in what ballooned and made these guys better. Scotty, teach Allen how to take care of himself. But that's the thing. These guys all get better physically and they're in better shape and they come back. That's how teams can make a leap in the standings. It's not just by acquisition through free agency, trade, or a draft pick. The collective, if they all work hard and they're all bought in, like our Raptors are, and the way they handle their offseason, we can see a needle push from the team itself without changing the team because they came back better than ever. And players like Jacoby Walter can make a leap. Trust me. Colin Murray-Boyles is going to make a leap. We just saw him in his rookie year. This is the starting point. He's going to be better than this in the next couple years coming back with more experience and taking care of his body better, where he's going to build more muscle. And he's already one of the strongest guys in the league. They call the man Bam Bam. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. Neil, I know they got that chef, and we're going to get Allen right. And I'm not worried about it. In some ways, part of my ranting and raving on Allen in the Timbit with the syrup is really just for entertainment purposes and riffing on the ingenuity and the inventiveness of him doing that. I was like, that's the first thing you think to do when you get the Timbits, because he sees it's like he's acting like it's a condiment. And some people in the comment section, that's just how Southern people are. They got to put a sauce on it. They got to put a sauce on it. I mean, I know, growing up in Florida, I seen this. No, you just got to put a sauce on it, bro. I can't just eat this Timbit with frosted sugar all over it. No, I need the syrup. This is comedic stuff, Neil. It's not really me coming at Graves. I know he's going to get it right. As long as it's a joke, because Raptors gave him that stuff to eat as welcome to Toronto, point the finger at front office because they do it to every newcomer. I know. I'm not coming down on Alan Graves. I love him, man. I haven't even seen him play, and I love this dude already, man. He's just got such a super bad vibe to him. Not super bad, like the movie. Like, this dude is like from that kind of feel of that movie with McLovin. Like, he's just got that energy. It's like kind of like goofy stoner energy, like, Super Troopers, like coming up to the window and talking to the window and meowing at the guys in the car that are stoned. It's just that kind of goofy, fun kind of stuff. And they even said that, like in the Open Gym episode, Bobby said, man, he's going to fit in so great with our locker room. Yeah, we could tell because he's a trip. Dude's a trip. You could already tell dude's a trip, man. But the fun is that he can have fun, but he can also work real hard and be very serious and be a good professional. That's perfect. That's perfect right there. That's perfect right there. Fiercely saying, I'm telling you, Grady 3.0 reveal coming soon. See, we got to see. Grady's been working out with Andrew Jones. We saw in that Open Gym episode, Andrew Jones running the practices for the workouts to showcase Alan Graves and Jaden Bradley. And man, Andrew Jones is just such a great leader. We hear his voice in there, and he sets a tone, man. Like, Darko utilizes Drew Jones really well. I think him being down to 5 the last 2 years was very, very smart. And I think that in some ways, if he wants a really powerful motivational speaker that may scare the hell out of some people, he's calling Andrew Jones to come into the room and have a talk with somebody. Because in some ways, his demeanor, the way he can get across things to people very seriously, yeah, you're going to listen to Drew Jones III. You're going to listen to him. It's awesome, man. Yeah, so he's working with Grady right now. So hopefully Drew Jones can help Grady. Hopefully he can. Yeah. Yeah, Cabbage Patch Kid, giddiness. Cabbage Patch Kid. What? Cabbage Patch Kids? What are you talking about, Cabbage Patch Kids? Let's do my CBL check-in. I am wearing my Scarborough Shooting Stars shirt because they won yesterday. The Battle of Toronto went down at Pan Am Center last night. Scarborough versus Brampton Honey Badgers. And, well, Scarborough won. But this storyline in some ways paralleled the tempo game yesterday because Miles Powell got thrown out in the middle of the game. I think that there's some issues with Miles Powell on the download that they're not really talking about publicly. Now, I found out why Miles missed the last game and they lost that game against Ottawa because Miles had a toe injury and he was a late scratch in the Blackjacks game last week, where Scarborough ended their winning streak and finally lost a game to Ottawa. Well, Miles was back for this game, and so was Amir Sims, which are two big, very important players for the Scarborough Shooting Stars. They had a really cool lineup actually with Johnson in it instead of Walker. Although I like Walker a lot, Anthony Walker, and he was key to help them win by the end of the game, even though he didn't start. Frank Mitchell was huge off the bench, but Miles Powell, I think they're finding him out, and they have no patience for him anymore. The two of the refs that ref the game in Scarborough last night were refing the game on Sunday that I went to with Adriana last Sunday on Father's Day. And they already have problems with Miles. I saw it right up close at courtside. You know, they had no nonsense and they had a hair trigger. And as soon as Miles Powell did anything kind of baity or trolly, because that's what he does. He antagonizes the other team. He talks trash to them and he baits them into losing their temper and coming at him, and then they get some in trouble. They kind of figured this out. So they watch Miles, and when Miles starts to do any of that kind of stuff, they put him on a short leash and say, no more of this, because you're causing fights. You're causing games to degenerate into technical free throw shooting to end the game instead of target score, big time shots. And it's hurting the product. You're also exposing our refs as being kind of weak and not having total control of the game because of the way you're acting. In some ways, I worry that Miles Powell, a Seton Hall, does not totally take the CBL seriously. And he comes in and he's just a big dog in a small pond and he's just tearing it up. And in some ways, he thinks he's above the law. Well, they're finding out because they threw his ass out in the middle of the game. Apparently, he bumped one of the refs. He just barely kind of tapped one of the refs with his shoulder. And that was the impetus for them to just toss his ass out. So what do? That's their Marina Mabrey. That's their closer. That's their guy that makes the big shots like Chef Mabry does. Because in some ways, the parallels to the Tempo game and the Scarborough Shooting Stars game last night are there. The big gun's gone. Who's going to step up and take over the game to win the game for you? Brampton was having trouble, but they were keeping with it. But at around the fourth quarter, Scarborough did separate themselves. But when they got in the target score time, even though they had a double-digit lead, they could not score for the life of them. There was this whole period of time in the target score where Brampton was holding them from scoring, and they were scoring themselves and starting to come back, and there was a bit of panic. This is totally the time where Miles Powell would step up and just crank a few threes and end the game and win it for them. But he wasn't there because he got thrown out for bumping the ref. So who's the hero? Tina Turner. Because we need another hero here at Pan Am Center, just like we needed at Scotiabank Arena earlier in the day. Who's the hero? Well, they kind of just like forced it. They got it finally, but it was ugly. And they didn't get it smoothly. And Brampton was starting to come back. And Rod Black, who's announcing the games, like, this would be crazy if Brampton came back and won this game after the lead that Scarborough had. That's the scary thing when you don't have your main gun. That's the scary thing when you don't have your best player, your closer, your best three-point shooter, just like Mabry with the Tempo and Powell with the Shooting Stars. So that parallel was there. It was kind of crazy, honestly. Going over the box score real quick. The leading score for the Shooting Stars was Johnson. He had 19 points, filling in. Powell got thrown out after 10 minutes of the game. He only got 7 points. Off the bench, Frank Mitchell broke the CEBL record for most rebounds in a game. He got 22 rebounds yesterday. And that was such a big achievement that Dylan Brooks posted it on his Instagram afterwards. Yeah, 22 points. Leonard Miller was at the game. Leonard Miller of Scarborough went to the Scarborough Shooting Stars game. He was sitting at courtside supporting the Canadian Elite Basketball League. So that was pretty cool to see Leonard Miller at the game. But yeah, Mitchell, 14 points with 22 rebounds. That's a CBL record. That's the most rebounds anybody's ever gotten in the game. And part of it is that, the last few games, like the game I went to last Sunday, the last few games at Pan Am Center have been dismal, bad shooting games that looked awful, low scoring games. Like this game ended up being 82-69. That's low scoring. That's like they are anemic shooting percentages, like really bad as a team, both teams. So yeah, lots of rebounds for Frank Mitchell, getting 22. There was also 10 rebounds for Bediako and 10 rebounds for Sims. So there were tons of rebounds out there. In fact, I think it was like there were 73 rebounds grabbed by the Scarborough Shooting Stars in a 40-minute game. That's not an NBA regulation game. That's a 40-minute game. Isn't that insane? That they had 73 rebounds as a team, Scarborough, 22 for Frank Mitchell. Crazy. On the other side, we'll give a note to Tyrese Hunter, 16 points off the bench for them, 14 for Sean East, the NBA rising star. So yeah, tough game for Brampton. That game was there for them to steal and take, especially when Powell's got thrown out. But Scarborough won, and they are now, I believe, Scarborough's like their record is really crazy. It's kind of like they only have 2 losses. So they're 11-2 now, number 1 in the league. Big time stuff. The rematch between Vancouver and Winnipeg happened last night in Vancouver, and revenge was gotten by the Bandits. Coach Julius was still not back from his suspension, so he did not get to enjoy the win as the coach doing it. His assistant's still there in his place as he serves the suspension from the fallout from the incident with the fan in Winnipeg. And Jalen House is gone now, but Vancouver figured it out. Jarkel Joyner was the hero. He's in the starting lineup now that House is gone. 34 points for Raptors 905er Jarkel Joyner on 12 of 23 shooting. Yeah, and he had 8 rebounds and 7 assists also. Big-time game by Jarkel. 21 points for Tevin Brown also in the win for Vancouver. On the Winnipeg side, Teddy Allen had 27 for his team. But yeah, big time rivalry in this game. Vancouver and Winnipeg is a real rivalry at this point. Brampton and Scarborough is a rivalry. These were grudge matches because it's Brampton versus Scarborough is the battle for Toronto, is what Rob Black calls it. He says, this is the battle for Toronto, East versus West, Brampton versus Scarborough. Well, Scarborough won last night, and Vancouver won the night last night also. Now, getting into action for today, there is one CBL game on the docket for today, and it's going to be the 2-time champion Niagara River Lions are in Ottawa to play the Ottawa Blackjacks at 1 p.m. Eastern today. So if you want to go to the game, you can go to it at TD Place coming up in a couple of hours. So yeah, Niagara at Ottawa is the game for today. Also, there is a game later at 6 out west. Saskatoon is at Edmonton at the Expo Center. So all these games are on free on YouTube. If you want to watch summer basketball, Canadian elite basketball action is fantastic to watch. Yeah, this is pretty cool stuff. Interesting stuff in those games right there. Yeah, let's see. Neil Sand, who is coaching the summer league team? That has not been announced yet. It's going to be one of the assistants that are existing on our team. I think, who was it last year? Was it like, I think that Drew Jones has coached it once 1 year. I think Pat Delaney coached it 1 year. I'm thinking about the ones who have coached it while Darko's been here. Did Jama coach it 1 year? I think Jama did. Maybe Coco Wade. It'll be one of those kind of guys. Who knows? Maybe it's Andrade. Maybe it's Evo. Maybe it's Vin Bagnani. Who knows? Maybe it's Mike Batiste. I would say any of the 10 Raptors assistant coaches is who's going to be. Eric Curry? Nah, let's not do that. Let's not do that. Let's not let Eric Curry coach Summer League. That's the one person, maybe not. Yeah. Yeah. Is Miles the Pat Bev of the team? Miles Powell? He's not the Pat Bev, man. You know what he's more like? Who's the right NBA comparison? Because he's a way better player than Patrick Beverley. Because you got to understand, right now, Miles Powell is like probably the MVP of the CBL, but he's a bad apple in some ways. Miles has a brother who's in prison right now for murder, and he's really from the street. Like, he's a real all about it kind of guy. Those kind of types. And in some ways, that is part of the reason why he is the way he is on the court, is because he is really street. He's a real one from the neighborhood. Trust me. And in some ways, he's unapologetically himself. 100%. And I think that informs some of his behavior and why he does what he does. I don't know who the right combination would be. Like, it's not, he's better than Ron Artest. He's not like Rodman either. You know what? Who's a good comparison for him? Dylan Brooks. He's like Dylan Brooks, except he's better than Dylan Brooks. Let's say you take Dylan Brooks and you combine Dylan Brooks with Marina Mabrey. That's what you get with Miles Powell. That's what you get. You take Dylan Brooks and combine him with Steph Curry. That's who Miles Powell is, because he cuts logo threes and he hits crazy threes all the time. He's a leading scorer in the whole league, but he's also like a Dylan Brooks kind of energy on the court. That's what he's doing. He's doing Dylan Brooks shit. He's absolutely antagonizing people and getting the mental game in full effect as he's torching them also. Dylan had, to me personally, an all-star level year this year for Phoenix. I thought he was just on the cusp of being an all-star. And if he wasn't Canadian and maybe not such a bad reputation around the league, he might have actually been considered for the all-star team this year. Now, Miles Powell, like I said, he's probably the number one candidate to be the MVP of the Canadian Elite Basketball League. But meanwhile, also, he's the biggest troll. He's the biggest troll also. Fiercely saying last year it was Coco. Coco Wade coached it last year. Okay. Yeah, I don't think they'll send the same person. I think that Darko likes to do a diversity and give different people chances at this kind of stuff. So we'll have to see. That's right. I do remember James Wade doing it last year. Yeah, I think Pat Delaney did it the first year when Darko first started, and nobody, nobody. I think he did it the first year. I'm not sure who did it in the middle. Maybe Andrew did it in the middle one, and then he went to coach 905 after that, which made sense. Oh wait, no, yeah, he did coach 905 the second and third year of Darko. The first year of Darko, Eric Curry was still the 905 coach. That's right. Let's see. Neil saying Fred VanVleet and Patrick Beverly were podcasting yesterday. Yeah, we talked about this. Because this just dropped yesterday, and it's a great drop. I wasn't sure how much Fred's going to be doing podcasts at this point. But I guess maybe if he's going to still be hurt for a bit, maybe he'll still do it. I think part of what Fred said is, like, I like doing the podcast because I'm actually making money doing it. And Pat Bev revealed that, like, his whole part in podcasting, he gets really into it. Like, he pays attention to the metrics and he does things on purpose on his podcast to make him have huge views. And he knows he does say stuff controversially just to get more views. He said that, like, on the show. But Fred knows that doing a YouTube channel and having a podcast is lucrative. So in some ways, he's like, I kind of don't like doing it, but I'm actually making money doing it. So I'm going to continue to do it, is what Fred said. It's kind of interesting. So Neil's saying, so why is he not on our team if he's better than Dylan? Well, Miles Powell is American. He's not a Canadian guy. He's an American dude. He's from the States. So he's not eligible for Team Canada. He's not eligible for Team Canada. He's an American player. He just plays in the Canadian League, Basketball League, All right, let's see. Straight goods on Canadian goods. Talking about Canada and U.S. Y'all, I'm going to drink something on the show once again that is from Ontario, and it is Bennett's Apple Cider. Bennett's Apple Cider I got this big old jug. Fresh pressed Bennett's Apple Cider. It's so good. Let me try some real quick on the show. Yeah, I'm a single man. I can drink it out of the container. Nobody else is going to drink out of this. So, yeah, Bennett's Apple Cider. This is picked apples from inside Ontario and pressed and all done here. This is a long-time Canadian company. And if you want fresh apple products, whether it's apples themselves or apple ciders, Bennett's is a great one. Like that, there's the label right there. So if you see this label in the grocery store, support local business. I don't even think they're a huge company. So it's really, really grassroots. So yeah, Bennett's, great for apple cider. Allen's for regular apple juice, but Bennett's for apple cider. There you go. Straight goods on Canadian goods. And like I said, let me see real quick. Where are they centered in here? They got 90 years of pressing experience. And I believe that they started their stuff in I know their orchards are in Ontario. I know they are. They're near Burlington. They have their orchards, their apple orchards over near Burlington, Ontario. So, yeah, and this has been a family business for over 100 years. So, yeah, Bennett's, check out their apple cider. We've heard today that the Orlando Magic have waived Jonathan Isaac finally, which I think is very interesting. I thought like Jonathan Isaac is kind of lingering around the Magic team for a couple years now and in kind of a weird limbo. I don't know. He's the longest standing Magic for a while, but now they have waived him, so he is not on the team anymore. That's an interesting little bit. Let's see if there's any breaking news here on the Raptors or tempo or anything basketball. I don't see anything here on that. Let's see what else I got in my tabs real quick. I want to do, oh yeah, there's a birthday. Happy birthday to former Raptor Damone Brown. Damone Brown was born in Buffalo, New York, 47 years ago today. So happy birthday to one-time Raptor Damone Brown. He played on the Raptors in 2002, 2003. He played only 5 games for us. He did start 3 of those 5 games, and he averaged almost 6 points per game, which was his highest points total on any NBA team during his short 4-year career. So happy birthday to Damone Brown, one-time Raptor, 5 games of Raptors play. He's 47 today. That's our Raptor Freak birthday of the day. Yeah. Yeah. All right. I mean, I guess I'll wrap up. I am just over 2 hours. And we're real close to this. We're going to do a Monday moment tomorrow, and there will be Tuesday trivia on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, we got preview on Canada Day with the games that are going down that day. So let's get the classic card and see who's getting it today. Man, I'm getting low on cards. I got other cards that I can use though. So let's see. Oh, wow. Okay, this card is weird because it's got 2 players on it, and you can get the points for both players. So this is double day where you can get them for both, and it's easy too. So get on this really, really fast. Get on this really, really fast. All right, 2 full name answers on both of them. It's kind of crazy that they've got this card like this. It's an all-star card, and it's got 2 players in it, and it's kind of a simple card. So if you can tell who those 2 people are, Slug Deezy's got one of them. It's Charles Barkley. Who's the other one there? Karl Malone. That's right. That's a classic matchup, Malone versus Barkley. Upper deck card. It's kind of weird. I pulled it, and I'm like, whoa, wait a second. This isn't a regular card. It's actually a matchup card about the 2 of them playing each other. Karl Malone versus Charles Barkley. Yeah, so that's pretty easy. I'm going to give you 50 points for both, Slug Deezy, so you get 100 points total for the Malone versus Barkley card. Yeah, I don't get a lot of these specialty cards like this. When I get them, I'm like, well, go ahead and do it. Even though it's 2 players, it's pretty simple too. You got 2 dream teamers there. So Barkley versus Malone, and it's going to be Slug Deezy getting the points 2 days in a row, and it's 100 points just for this one. Cumulative. Getting back to the point with Neil about Miles Powell and Dillon Brooks, I would also say this: Miles Powell is not as good as Dillon Brooks. There's levels to this, and Miles Powell can do what he does in Canadian Elite Basketball League, but I don't know if he can do that on the Suns like Dillon Brooks does. So there's levels to this, and that's something that Elijah Martin found out last year. Is there's levels to this. That's right. That's right. Thank you for guessing also, Fiercey, with Charles Barkley. Yeah. All right, let me see. Am I done with my tabs? All right, I guess I'll do a wrap-up. Y'all check on your WNBA fantasy teams and make sure that you set your lineup for the last day of the week, which is today, because we'll be starting with our next week tomorrow. Right now, MK's got a really going to win. Doubled up his opponent. Kaz is winning in his matchup. Fiercey's going to stay undefeated and win again today. Smoking Aces has got the win over Kareem, it looks like. And I am going to win over Cool Cat in the other matchup. So, yeah, keep up with your teams. The playoffs are going to come at a certain point, and you want to be in a good position and try and win our WNBA Fantasy League. That's right. That's right. Let's go. Let's go. All right. Once again, the Tempo lost yesterday in their first game at Scotiabank Arena. They're now 9-10 for the season. It was a winnable game, and it's kind of cheesy that we lost it, but I get it. We scored 22 points in every quarter until the last quarter where we scored 14, and just really kind of bleh at that point. It's really too bad Marina wasn't there. It's a lost opportunity. It is what it is. I just say Tiger Bomb. That's what I say. Tiger Bomb. Ugh. Anyway, either way, my stars of the game for the game were Julie Alamont, Tim Apuyi, and Kia Nurse, with honorable mention to Isabel Harrison and Niera Sabali. They tried. Also, Scarborough won their game yesterday against Brampton in the Battle of Ontario, and Vancouver beat Winnipeg in the grudge match out in BC last night in Canadian Elite Basketball League. All right. I'll be back tomorrow with a Monday moment. And check out the latest Open Gym with Alan Graves and Jaden Bradley in their draft. And also check out the new Fred Van Vliet podcast. It's got Patrick Beverly, who's not necessarily one of our favorite people, but it's always interesting to hear Fred kick it and talk about real topics. Some stuff, in some ways, he shouldn't be talking about because he's the president of Players Association, but he does still. It's very interesting what he has to say on certain things. And Pat Bev clears the air on a lot of stuff from his own career and incidents that happen. And in some ways, I don't care about that stuff, but you guys might be interested to hear about some of the things that Patrick Beverly had to say, justifying some of the things that has happened in his playing career. So very interesting. I got more insight on who Pat Bev is and why he is the way he is. You figure it out from that. Also, check out Elijah Martin's vlog too. It's a fun little look at him going to TSN and doing the broadcast for the NCAA tournament a few months ago. And also just kind of him like in his off time and what he's talking about and doing and stuff like that. So yeah, follow Elijah, follow Sandro's channel too. Why not? All right, I'll see y'all tomorrow for Monday Moment. And I hope you guys have the good rest of your Sunday. Get out there and touch grass and raptorize your day like Nav Bhatia would. That's right. He doesn't do drugs. He doesn't drink. He doesn't smoke. He raptorizes his day. And I would say there's been a stand-in for Nav at some of these games lately, but he was there actually yesterday. It's weird because I've been paying attention to whether he's been going to tempo games because I wanted to know if he's just as diligent going to tempo games as he is Raptors games. And I'm not sure that Nav has been going to the tempo games regularly. I think that, Sam McDaddy has. We've been seeing him at all the tempo games sitting at center court. But they've had another guy who kind of looks like Nav Bhatia come into the game and sitting in those seats. And I think from afar, if you don't see it correctly, you think Nav's there, but he's not. It's another dude. But he was there yesterday. It was weird. I don't know. Maybe Nav's getting a little more gray in the beard, and I'm getting confused. But there is another dude that's Sikh who wears the turban and looks just like Nav, and he goes to the games and he sits at courtside sometimes, and people get him confused. So I don't know. I don't know. I think Nav's not totally coming to every single tempo game, so he can't brag that he's done that like he's done that for the Raptors. I don't know. He's a busy guy. He probably has a lot to do in the summer too. Either way, it's a weird mystery. I'm trying to figure it out. Is that real Nav Bhatia or is that the stand-in? Anyway, fun to see Nelly Furtado at the game and see the crowd at Scotiabank Arena for the game. The energy was nice. They had a good, loud crowd, and they were passionate. It's just too bad we couldn't give them the W at the end. Marina, the regret was all over your face in the fourth quarter. We could see it.